All right, what is up, guys? I am going to show you, hopefully in 20 minutes or less, how to vibe code your first app. This is, I would say, more of a novice level lesson. So if you're really new to AI, I recommend you go back and watch some of Andrew's videos to get caught up. But if you've been playing with it a little bit, you're pretty comfortable, you're using it in your everyday life, let's start making apps. All right. What is vibe coding? Really, in layman terms, what vibe coding is talking in English to a machine that somehow produces a website or code, and then you iterate along the way. So, for example, you say, make me a website for my car dealership. Okay, pumps it out. Now I want you to add the feature of allowing me to upload photos. Okay, pumps it out. So you iterate until you get to the place that you want. And of course, you debug along the way. Layman's terms, you go from idea, prompt, prototype to deploy. So you're not overthinking it. You're not, having all this complex architecture. And what's cool about this is you can build an app. Hopefully, we're going to do this in about 20 minutes. But in terms of bringing a full production app to market, something that once took probably, I don't know, 50, 75,000, 100, $100,000 in 6, 8, 10 months, you can now do in a couple weeks. And that's even if you're learning as you go. I think to get started for this novice stack, the best way to do this is to use Google AI Studio, that's where it's actually going to build the app. And of course, I'll show you guys all of this and go through it. GitHub, kind of like Google Drive, sort of. So it's your code's home base. And it's also the place where these other integrations and services can pull from. So like Google AI Studio, if you end up using something else, like, for example, Replit or VO Agent, if you have no idea what I'm saying, don't worry about it. It is not important right now. In terms of just kind of a basic stack, so Google AI Studio, GitHub, Vercel, that's basically the gateway between GitHub and the internet, so the interface. And I remember kind of dabbling before really trying to, I said trying, I didn't really try. I tried for about an hour, to code. And you look at GitHub and you're just like, what the hell is this? What's cool, of course, is that all of these vibe coding tools kind of do it for you. It organizes it. It formats it the way it's supposed to be formatted. And along the way, you kind of start to understand it more and more, but you don't need deep GitHub knowledge at all. And then, of course, Claude Code. Claude Code's a little more, I'd say it's for some more, complex tasks. So Google AI Studio will only get you so far. But then when you're ready to start iterating, changing things, debugging, Claude Code's going to be how you do that. And of course, I will show you guys how to do this. It is super, super easy. Okay, just some terms that we need to know. Scaffolding, so it's kind of like frame or the skeleton of your app. So basically, it's the structure of it. Refactoring is basically going and cleaning it up, formatting it right, making sure there's not duplicates, making sure there's no syntax errors. Bug is when your code breaks or acts weird. How does a code work one day and then break the other? I have no idea, but it happens. API, most of you are familiar with APIs. It's how your app talks to other services. And then environment variables. This is something that you store within Vercel in this case. And this is where basically you put all of your API keys. Okay, so again, the workflow. Google AI Studio, GitHub, Vercel. All right, now let's get to it. So we're gonna go over here, Google AI Studio. And so right here, aistudio.google.com, vibe code Gen AI apps. Okay, so then you'll see right here, Gemini 3 Pro preview. We're just going to do something pretty basic, just so that way we're not going back and forth with a ton of different APIs, and just kind of show you guys the basic workflow. So I want to build a funny, let's see how much we can push it to. PG-13 to R rated, LOL, funny. Like something to play with friends on game nights that has everyone. Now, is this the perfect way to write a prompt? Not really. However, I have found if you feed it this type of information, right? What do you want to do? You want to build a funny party game. Okay, you give some more details. It doesn't have to make perfect sense. Like, I probably wouldn't, if I were hiring someone on Upwork or Fiverr to make something, I probably would word it a little bit differently. But you have to understand what these LLMs are doing is they're just taking all this combination of words, putting it together in a sense that it thinks makes sense and then generating something with it. So even if it doesn't flow perfectly, I know you hear everyone talking about first you tell the AI what it is. Like you are an architect, you are a doctor, you are a whatever. Yes, that does work, but things like AI Studio, you have a little bit of flexibility. So let's see. Want to build a funny game night? Thinking, let's like in something like Cards Against Humanity. Want it to be interactive. Yeah, I guess let's just see what it comes up with it. So depending on what type of app you have it building, this could take anywhere, I'd say between like 3 and 6 minutes. Of course, there's a bunch of different factors there. But what I like about this is you kind of get to learn along the way too. So for example, you can click this little drop down, what it's doing. See, and this is so crazy. So I just gave it this little blurb that doesn't really make sense. And then you can go through the logic. So I've been drilling down on the core mechanics of this party game. My focus now is on brainstorming prompts and response cards to generate humorous outcomes while navigating that PG-13. So I guess I can't do R. It's tricky balance, but I'm eager to get laughs flowing. It's kind of refining the concept a little bit. It's going to use Gemini 2.5 Flash. Engineering is my concern now. The goal is to craft a system, instructions that nail the game's chaotic, humorous tone. I'm experimenting with generating block cards on the fly, driven by themes and randomness. Also, I'm thinking about how the AI judge will assess humor, a subjective factor that adds to the game's playful absurdity. So it's visualizing. I mean, it's just so cool that you can see the thought process and then you kind of see exactly what it's doing. What does all this mean? I have no idea. You don't need to know. So as we kind of wait here, this I would say is probably the fastest and easiest way to get a V0 or a V1 just out. So something, whether that's validating an idea. So if you have a waiting list for something that, you're building this big complex application, but you're not quite sure, you don't want to keep investing in it, just pump this out. I mean, okay, bam, done. So let's see. Let's do unhinged. Now, fair warning, sometimes there's bugs the first time, sometimes there's issues, there's going to be things that we want to change. So let's try it out. We'll just do 3 rounds. Initializing game brain. Okay, what are we looking at? Wow. All right, so it's pretty cool. Know what this is up here. Let's see. I knew my internet search history was beyond redemption when Google suggested I might enjoy. I guess we did get kind of close to R. Wow. Fisting a freshly baked pie. I don't even know what that means. Okay, so now you can kind of see the flow of how it works. Now, something that's really cool, and then I highly recommend you doing, is the suggestions down here. So implement player avatar. Really, all this is doing is enhancing the app and making it better. And because Google's suggesting it, hopefully that means it knows how to do it pretty easily. And then it's also just the easiest way to kind of feature test or, I mean, it's like a product manager, suggesting different features, abilities, and then it just does it, which is the craziest part. So while it's doing that, let's see if it'll let us keep playing. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Youthful glow came from a nightly ritual of, that's actually kind of funny, getting high on communion wafers. And you can see, I mean, like, these are pretty clever. I'm not quite sure what my first answer meant, but I can certainly take some guesses. But all that to say, I mean, let's see. I guess you click it again. Judge's verdict. Okay, so we didn't win. So we can go back over here, see kind of where it's at with our player avatar, considering avatar for players. It allows players to customize their in-game persona before the game starts. This is actually kind of funny. I think this would actually be kind of a fun game to play. And what a party trick too. Like, hey guys, I just made a game, blast this baby up on the TV. Waiting. Okay. So it looks like Cards Against Intelligence. Kind of a clever name. Let's see. Your name. This is pretty funny. Okay. So you guys can kind of see, you play with this, you mess with it, you experiment. I'm not going for perfect here. I just want to show you guys the workflow. So once we're kind of happy with where we are at, are going to, now there's various ways to do this, by the way. So save to GitHub. It's going to create a new repository. So we will call that, and what a repository is too, it's just a project basically. So we will call this Cards Against Intel Demo for the Tribe. And see, I mean, so cool just because it fills everything in, right? The descriptions, what changes did you make? Okay, so now you will see no changes to commit. So we know that it is called Cards Against Intel right here. See, it pops right up. So cool. And here it is. Now I know you're thinking, what the hell is this? That's what I said. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to Vercel. Now, Vercel is super cool. It is a free platform where you can basically deploy your apps. This is the bridge, I would say, from GitHub. So all of this to the interwebs. Okay, so we're going to do add new project. And what's awesome is that it already has your GitHub repositories. So we call this cards against deploy. So this is your environment variables. So this is where you would put, for example, that API key. I'm not sure if this is going to work without the API key. If it does not, I'll have to go back and add it. But you can see right now too where it's building everything. Okay, so so it looks like we're gonna have to add that API key. Best way to do that, Google API key, create API key, test, trivia, select crowd project. I never really know what to put here. I guess we'll just do create project, test, trivia. Or this isn't the trivia, what is this? Cards against creating project. And of course, this is your top secret key. Copy API key. Then we're going to go back to Vercel, find our, I don't know why I named it trivia. And then we're going to go over here to environment variables. Well, maybe we can blur that out. This is what I was looking for. Okay, so hopefully I can blur this, but Gemini API key is what you name it for this. All right, now we're going to hit redeploy, view deployment.